With everyone's help, you successfully excavate the wooden chest from the ground. Even without opening it, you can tell from the mora and jewels scattered around the chest that it must contain quite the fortune.
Makes sense. We worked hard for this. Let's open it and we can share what's inside.
I can understand your excitement, Paimon, but think about it. Doesn't it seem like there are people out there who need this treasure more than us?
Yeah. Think about all the people suffering in the capital, or all those guards who got hurt fighting the monsters. Wouldn't it be better if we gave the treasure to them?
Wait, is that how it works? Paimon thought since we were the ones to dig it up, we could just take it for ourselves.
Well, let's put it this way. Any decision you make during a role-playing game can impact the future course of the story.
But would the people really believe us? It's hard enough for us to prove we're Marcia Say hunters. What if they think we procured the treasure illegally? They might get even more suspicious of us.
That's definitely something we should consider. Maybe we can come up with an explanation in advance.
Well, if donating it could cause that much trouble, why don't we use it to buy some gear and fill up on good food? Then we'll be ready to fight even more bad guys.
Looks like you're facing a difficult choice once again. Well, it's getting late. Why don't we call it a day for now?
Wow, where did the time go?
I'm not sure if it's because I'm having so much fun with you all or because the story is particularly enticing, but I feel like I could almost keep going.
Here, here. Ooh, how about we play through the night?
I'm not sure I'll have enough energy for that.
Yeah, that won't work for me either. Lynette will give me an earful if I get home too late.
I understand how you feel, Navia, but we have to change venues for the next part of the story anyway.
Huh? Another location?
Mm-hmm. There's a special note for the GM at the end of this section that says to proceed to an indoor set for the next part of the script.
Whoa, they really pulled out all the stops for this new script.
Well, even if we end the game for the day, we can still stay a little longer and hear Clorinde finish her story, right?
Something tells me you just want to finish the free desserts before we break for the day.
That's just a coincidence, okay? Besides, to Paimon, not finishing free food feels even worse than having to buy her own. And anyway, Paimon really does want to hear more about Clorinde's master.
Well...
It's nothing. I appreciate the concern, but it's all in the past. It won't do any harm to share these things now. My earliest memories are of living with Master. According to her, she saved me from certain people of ill repute. My birth parents had left me behind some time before that.
What a heavy beginning for a life story.
Master was a fascinating individual. If inexperienced in the ways of raising children, my first ever toy was a short sword. Although I suppose it wasn't so much a toy as something Master removed from her waist and handed to a noisy child in need of distraction.
Oh, wait, so she handed an actual sword to a child? Isn't that dangerous?
Of course I did. I cut my palm and bled quite a lot. But Master was not concerned. She just stood there and casually lectured me about it. See, that's what you get for not holding the sword properly, she told me. She then crouched down next to me and said, "Give me your hand. I'll teach you to bandage this wound. After that, it's time to learn how to truly hold a blade."
Excuse me for asking this, Clorinde, but how old were you exactly when all this happened?
Probably around, 3, give or take.
3? Isn't that when most kids are still struggling to hold a fork?
As I said, Master was rather inexperienced in the ways of raising children. She believed trial and error was the best way to teach a child what they're capable of.
I'm not so sure this is a question of experience.
I didn't see anything wrong with her ways at the time. And Anyway, children don't get to choose how they're raised. Oh, she did bring me back a pet from Liyue once. It was a Geovishap hatchling.
A Geovishap hatchling? For a pet? That seems even more dangerous!
What she said was this: make sure to get along, you two. If you really can't agree on something, just settle it with a fight. Whoever loses is the real pet.
And how old were you when this happened?
5.
Well, did you win?
No, I lost.
So, you're saying you actually became the Geovishap's pet?
Yes, but only for a week. By the end of that week, I defeated it in combat, and we've shared a cordial relationship ever since.
That really doesn't sound like the kind of childhood someone should have.
Later on, I gradually understood that Master most likely didn't know any other way to raise a child. She was a marechaussee hunter, but I never heard her bring up her own parents. Thanks to her, I learned how to navigate the forest by the age of 6, and could hunt monsters in the wild by myself the year after. Even though the training she subjected me to was strict, she always made sure to take me traveling when she had the time. We met many of her friends during those days. That was also how I met Mr. Callis and his family.
I still remember the first time we met. You were too scared to join our picnic and hid behind Ms. Petronia the whole time.
I still hadn't really met many children my age at that time, so I didn't know how to interact with others.
After that, though, you started coming over a lot. You loved challenging people to shooting competitions, remember? I don't think many members of the Spina ever beat you in one of those.
I had a lot of fun during those days.
I enjoyed them too. Oh, do you remember that one time we went exploring around the Spina together? We overheard Papa call your master Fontaine's Protector of Justice. We tried to pretend like we never heard anything, but you nearly let it slip that one time.
Protector of Justice? Oh, wait, you mean that vigilante hero from 20 years ago? The one who was always active at night?
Yep, that would be her. She often would put on a black cloak and go out at night. I never knew where she went or what she was doing. Until, like Navia said, we overheard the truth from Mr. Callis that night.
20 years ago, huh? I still remember the guards leaving all kinds of witness reports about her on Nervalette's desk.
My apologies.
Oh, there's no need to apologize. You had nothing to do with it. And anyway, everything she did was for a good cause. Although, calling herself the Protector of Order was a bit much. Especially when she deliberately operated outside the law.
Huh? When did the Protector of Justice become the Protector of Order?
Oh, she had a bunch of code names. I heard she would just come up with a name on the spot whenever she was asked. Later on, she probably got sick of answering those questions and decided to stick to just 2. The Protector of Justice and the Protector of Order.
That sounds like her, all right. I bet she forgot which of the 2 she'd use by the time she got back each night.
Well, she certainly sounds like a fascinating individual. With her strong sense of justice, it's no surprise her student followed in her footsteps.
It's true. I always wanted to become like her. Someone powerful, independent, and with a strong sense of conviction. But she suddenly disappeared the night I turned 10 years old.
Disappeared? What happened?
I have no idea. She didn't even leave a note. That night, I was celebrating my birthday at Navia's house, but Master never came to pick me up. When I returned home on my own, it was to an empty house. When she still didn't appear after a few days, I went to Mr. Callis's house to ask about her whereabouts.
Papa probably didn't know either. I know he sent a few people to investigate the matter in secret, but they never found any credible leads.
Don't worry, I understand. To be perfectly honest, given Master's personality and way of doing things, it all made a lot of sense. If I had to guess, I'd say she probably used it as an opportunity to force me to become independent. Just like how, when a litter of kittens reaches a certain age, the mother willingly leaves them behind.
Were you upset, Clorinde?
I was at first, but not anymore. I don't believe Master would suddenly disappear for no reason. There must have been something she just had to do.
Well, despite everything, you still managed to follow in her footsteps and become the greatest champion duelist in all of Fontaine. You're practically a living symbol of law and justice.
I suspect my position would be far too by the books for her. Master always did whatever she pleased. But you're right. I suppose I do take after her in some ways.
Who knew Clorinde had such an interesting past? And I wonder if Clorinde's master were the champion duelist back then, would that duel against Mr. Callus have gone differently? Oh no. Judging by the atmosphere, Clorinde and Navia are probably thinking something similar. The mood just got super awkward all of a sudden.
Well, anyway. Would you look at the time? It's getting dark, so we should probably call it a day for real this time. If we keep talking like this, we really will be here all night.
I had a great time today, Miss Clorinde. Thank you for being our GM.
Anytime.
The script was good, but I've got to say, your childhood stories were even better. Hey, you should tell us more about that fight against the Geo-Bishop sometime. Maybe your master was onto something.
You could be right.
What does she mean, onto something? I certainly don't know any 5-year-olds who want to fight a bishop in their spare time. Guess I'll head back as well. I need to save my energy if I want to continue enjoying the story tomorrow.
You're that excited to hear about my fight with the bishop?
I was talking about the script.
Now, before we begin, why don't we finish where we left off yesterday? There was an important decision to be made, yes?
Is that really the most important part, though, Clorinde? Paimon's more concerned about our current surroundings. Heavy walls, cold railings, dim lights. This is obviously supposed to be a prison.
I admire the work put into the set. Still, it's obvious the scriptwriter has never paid a visit to the fortress of Meripede.
So this set is going to be a part of the script?
Unfortunately, that is something I can neither confirm nor deny.
Anyone think Clorinde's smile is starting to look kinda scary?
Well, whatever happens, we'll just have to push on. But first, we should really figure out what to do with this treasure. If we're worried about arousing suspicion because of our identity, why don't we give ourselves a different name, just like Clorinde's master did?
Yeah, it might be better to keep a low profile. As long as we're helping people, it doesn't matter who we are or what we're called.
Staring at me won't get you anywhere. Or did you want some more tea?
Oh, Paimon's good. Thanks. Why aren't you saying anything, Navia? Wait, what's that next to you?
Oh, this is the short sword Clorinde mentioned last night. I found it.
Huh. I'm surprised you managed to track it down after all this time.
Well, I made sure to take good care of it, considering the circumstances in which you gave it to me. Of course I had to keep it safe. Anyway, where were we? Oh, right. I was just thinking about all the potential ways for us to break out of prison. We could dig a tunnel, or try to bribe the guards.
Wait, we haven't been thrown into prison yet, have we?
Well, it's only a matter of time. It pays to be prepared. Just like how you should always have an umbrella on hand, even when it's sunny.
All right, Paimon's made up her mind. Let's just give the treasure away. Paimon may have wanted to keep it, but if it's going to land us in prison somehow, Paimon will be too upset to enjoy her snacks.
So, you reached an agreement? All right then, we can continue with the story.
Oh, and we'll collect all the scattered pieces of treasure on the ground as well.
All right. You collect the treasure and make your way back to the capital with your bag of loot in hand. The city is still shrouded in a gloomy, oppressive atmosphere, but your spirits are surprisingly high. In places where sunlight struggles to reach, you generously share your wealth with the children, the elderly, and the poor in urgent need of help.
Thank you, kind soul.
The elderly woman's look of gratitude follows you as you walk away, her eyes never leaving your back until you move entirely out of sight. However, there's still quite a bit of Mora remaining. It appears you haven't made much progress.
She's probably trying to tell us to speed this up. We need to hurry up so we can address the sorcerer problem.
Should we go find that man again at the square? He seemed like a pretty responsible guy. I'm sure he knows the people here far better than us.
Oh, good idea!
Just as you start to make way to the square, intent on finding the man again, there's a voice.
Please wait, distinguished guests.
Several strange guards suddenly call out to you. They run forward to meet you and proceed to politely pay their respects.
Greetings, gentlemen. Are we being invited for afternoon tea?
Surely you jest, my lady. That would not be our place. It is His Excellency the King who requests to meet with you. Please come with us.
Do you think this could be a trap?
Well, we have to investigate the court at some point, right? Meeting the king himself would be a fantastic opportunity to do that.
I say we go for it. If something happens, we'll just turn the whole place upside down.
That sounds a little intense.
After a quick discussion, you nod to the guards and agree to follow. They lead you all the way to the audience hall of the palace. Gilded tables line both sides of the hall. The space itself is adorned with all manner of expensive antiques, glass shelves, and silver candlesticks. The items appear quite ordinary in size and dimension, yet their presence somehow makes the emptiness of the hall feel even more surreal and ominous.
Wow, it's so luxurious!
The elderly king, clad in a magnificent robe, sits upon the deep crimson throne before you. He wears above his head a majestic crown, with a gemstone the size of a bird's egg set right at the very front. As you observe it, you see a complex pattern of light reflect off its surface.
They're here, Your Majesty.
A man dressed in dark clothes, likely a minister, shields his mouth with his hands and bends down to whisper a few words to the king. After a moment, he lowers his hands and stands back up. His gaze shifts to fixate on your group, but he does not move from his place at the king's side.
The king does not appear entirely aware of his surroundings. The man by his side, though, we should keep a close eye on him.
The king remains still and says nothing. The minister is the one who speaks.
Esteemed guests, allow me to thank you for coming to our faraway kingdom. Unfortunately, His Majesty the King finds himself quite exhausted from work. So please allow me, his Prime Minister, to welcome you in his stead. I've heard tell that your group, the Marechaussee Hunters, used your exceptional ability with the sword to repel the monsters near the capital. Such a great deed deserves to be rewarded. However, seeing that I was not fortunate enough to observe such a feat with my own eyes, you'll forgive me for seeking to verify the truth by speaking to you myself.
Well, we've got nothing to hide. You brought us here to talk, right? So we'll just explain what happened. The golem's blades were so powerful, they could cut down trees in a single swipe!
took a lot of effort to defeat them, even for trained swordsmen like us. Well, that was enough details, right? Believe us now?
Your account does indeed match those of the survivors. Since you were the ones who defeated the monsters, that must mean you are also in possession of the treasure they stole?
Well, we did take the treasure, but...
How did he know about the treasure?
Then I must ask that you return it at once. It belongs to the kingdom.
Wait, but didn't you just say that our great deed deserved a reward? Shouldn't the treasure be considered a part of that?
Yes, that was indeed what I said. But you seem to have forgotten a very important distinction. Only that which is freely given by the king can be considered a reward. Taking the rightful wealth of a kingdom without said permission, on the other hand, is a crime.
But that's completely unreasonable.
Yeah, that makes no sense! If it weren't for us, the treasure would still be buried underground somewhere!
Maybe so, yet the fact remains. You tried to dispose of the treasure without reporting it to the court and without receiving permission, yes? What, no answer? Surely you're not insinuating that you, a group of legendary marechaussee hunters, sought to take the treasure for yourselves?
Well, what about the king? Is he just gonna let this guy talk for him the whole time?
Clad in his magnificent robe, the king remains seated, with his hands resting on either side of the throne. His posture is rigid and unmoving. He stares forward with an empty look in his eyes, completely unmoved by the events before him.
From the look of things, could the Prime Minister be the evil sorcerer? Or could both the King and the Prime Minister have fallen under the evil sorcerer's control?
I would like to observe the number of guards stationed in the hall.
The guards in the palace appear fully armed, their expressions solemn. Sensing the tense atmosphere in the room, they stand at the ready, each with a hand placed upon the hilt of their sword, as if prepared to draw their weapons and surround you at a moment's notice.
Well, there goes my plan to turn the whole place upside down, I guess.
It appears we've been visited by nothing more than a group of ill-intentioned imposters. What a pity. Guards, take them away and throw them in the dungeons. Before I decide your fate, however, I must first determine whether you have any accomplices outside the court.
Can't we try to slip away? Or maybe start some kind of riot?
But if we try to fight the guards right now...
Don't worry. At least we figured out who's behind all this. Let's just play it by ear. If you're scared, Paimon, just hold my hand.
Thanks, you guys.
You allow yourself to be led away by guards surrounding you on both sides. It's only when you begin to feel drops of water falling from the dungeon ceiling and smell the stench of death and decay all around you that you finally realize you've stepped into a completely different world. Stay here and don't try anything funny. The guards lock the cell door and leave without looking back.
Wait, sir!
Your voice echoes through the dark hall, but the only response you receive is the sound of water dripping from the ceiling.
No! What should we do now?
Carve out a new path of fate with our own two hands, of course. I draw my weapon.
You reach toward your waist, but find nothing there. You now recall that your weapons were confiscated before the guards locked you in the cell. The bag of treasure along with them.
What about that knife I hid in my boot?
When did you hide it in there?
When I was thinking about digging a tunnel.
Rejected. You failed to inform the GM of this course of action. Moreover, the guards would have conducted a thorough search before throwing you in prison.
And the keys to the cell aren't anywhere to be seen?
Correct. You don't even feel a lock hole on the cell door.
Oh, well, there goes all our plans.
Indeed.
Huh? Why are you the one saying indeed?
Because that statement holds true for me as well. This is where the script ends.
What? But that's a terrible ending!
Generally speaking, this should be the point where the scriptwriter gives the players some kind of hint, or gives the GM some kind of code for how to move forward.
I mean, maybe they just really wanted us to be immersed in the feeling of being in prison? Like, they'll only show us the way out once we've grown truly and utterly desperate?
That is a possibility.
If only there were desserts and tea in real prison. Oh, wait, guess that's kind of how the Fortress of Meripede works if you're lucky.
Oh, before I forget, Navia, the short sword you had with you earlier. I took a closer look, and the craftsmanship doesn't appear to resemble anything from this era. If I remember correctly, that style was last in vogue several hundred years ago.
Wait, Clorinde said that sword used to belong to her master, right? Does that mean her master has been alive that long?
I doubt it. The way she went about things often made her seem childish more than anything. I'd say the sword was most likely an heirloom passed down over time.
Hang on. A precious heirloom passed down to you by your master. And you gave it to me just like that? You weren't worried I might lose it?
Master left many things to me when she disappeared. There was the sword, an old key, and a good amount of junk she probably just didn't want to take with her. I gave you the sword back then, because I didn't want our friendship to end.
Wait, when did this happen exactly?
After the duel. Between Mr. Callis and myself.
Before that, Clorinde would have meals with us and even stay over at the Spina some days. She was on great terms with Papa as well. After the duel, though, there was a period of time where we simply didn't know how to face each other. She entrusted this sword to me, and never came back. We were both sad, and conflicted, and totally overthinking everything as a result. Whenever I looked at this sword, I couldn't help but wonder. If Miss Petronia had never introduced us to each other at that picnic, maybe part of the sadness I was feeling could have been avoided. Back then, it felt like I hadn't just lost a father, but a close friend as well.
No one can change the past. The most important thing is that you two found your way back to each other and can enjoy things like this together.
Yep, you're right.
I'm sorry, you two. I didn't mean to bring up any sad memories.
Think nothing of it. No one here is at fault.
Looks like the next part of our script is here.
Perfect timing. The situation was really starting to get desperate. And not just because of the prison thing.
From Clorinde's face, Paimon really can't tell if it's good news or bad news.
Water continues to drip from the ceiling. In this lightless dungeon, you lack a reliable way to tell how much time has passed. Eventually, you get used to the unpleasant odor of straw, mold, and rust, and find yourselves alternating between fits of drowsiness and despair. Suddenly, you hear footsteps outside the door.
Heads up, everyone. Someone's coming.
Gather close, everyone, and keep your voice down.
Who are you?
I work as a guard in these dungeons, but my true identity is the same as your own. I'm also a marechaussee hunter.
Huh?
Shh. I've already sent away the other guards, but if we make too much noise...
I understand, but how can we be sure we can trust you?
The king has issued a formal decree. In light of the irrefutable proof of your crime, you're to be executed before tomorrow's sunrise. If you want to escape, it has to be now.
Executed? We barely did anything!
Monsters appearing at the same location as the treasure. Could this entire thing have been a trap?
There will be time for speculation once we're out of here. As for my identity, I have no way to prove that to you just yet. Infiltrating the capital was difficult, and finding a chance to speak with you has taken a lot out of me. I could go on, but I think we can all agree that now is not the time for details.
Have you seen our weapons anywhere, sir?
Don't worry, I brought them with me. They're just behind the door. Still, these weapons alone won't be enough to defeat the true enemy behind the scenes. His faction is too powerful. The guards are all under his control, and he's even stationed a number of golems in various rooms throughout the palace. To defeat him, you must find a secret vault. It is said that within that vault, the marechaussee hunters of the past left behind a treasure with the power to defeat the sorcerer.
You're not coming with us?
No, I'll remain in the dungeons to deal with the guards. I'll try my best to distract them so they don't go after you. As long as my identity is not revealed, I'll be able to aid you when the final battle comes.
In that case, please stay safe.
Thank you for your concern. I will do my utmost. As for the location of the vault, here, this map should lead you there.
Got it.
All right, once I open the door, remember to stick close and refrain from making any noise. I'll lead you out of here as quickly as possible. You now have the chance to restore the honor and legacy of the marechaussee hunters. So please, get out there and reclaim what's ours. And be sure to exercise caution.
With the help of the guard, you successfully escaped the dungeons. Your sense of despair and anxiety both seem to fade as you continue your quest.
Wait, we didn't get to use our skill. Who knows when we're gonna get the chance to use that cool summon spell?
That is a pity, but we can only continue to move forward.
Yeah! Skyward!
This should be the place marked on the map.
This bit of rock certainly looks suspicious.
Well, I'd say an investigation's in order then. Plus, if all else fails, we can just blow it up.
Wow, you really meant that!
Before you lies a serene stretch of open water, its surface shimmering a brilliant shade of sapphire blue.
Well, guess this means it's time for a...
Oh, what's the matter?
It's nothing. As you step into the cave, you find yourself in an eerily quiet space. Before you lies a narrow passageway that appears to trail off endlessly into the distance.